Dun.
What's going on, Schmac Talk? Welcome back to another episode. We're hitting the final trilogy here. Episodes 7, 8, and 9 in the Star Wars
The
franchise.
best episodes. Ah,
Are
get
they?
it.
Are they?
I don't think so.
I think they're good.
They're really good. It's hard to compete with the OG. I mean,
Yeah.
we've said it before. 4, 5, 6 is by far the best. It always will be. There's no issue with the other ones. The other ones are great. You should definitely go watch them. It's really hard to beat those.
Yeah, especially 4, 5, 6 lay the whole foundation for the whole series. 1, 2, and 3 are pretty good. They give you a lot of insight into what happens in 4, 5, 6. And then if you really be paying attention, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6 really get you thinking about 7, 8, 9. And honestly, 7, 8, 9, I kind of like the whole, you see the more chaos between the light and the dark side. I think it's more focused on the actual force of the light and then the dark side on the other end.
I think it definitely focuses more on the force in general. I would say that there is this whole, it talks about the connection that one has when they have the force. It also, with that being said, it shows the varying levels of individuals with the force. I think we get a variety of characters who are force sensitive. It's just how powerful are they with the force. And I think that's what they were really trying to do, is they were trying to not only tell the story of, the Skywalker saga, right, and wrap everything up, but they're also trying to show you how integral and important the force is to everything within this, within this franchise.
Yeah. One thing that I really noticed in rewatching 7, 8, 9 was the whole, you see more of Leia experiencing the force and teaching the force to Ben. If you don't know who Ben is, you need to go watch 7, 8, 9.
He pulled out the good guy name.
Come on. Well, because I don't think so. Opinion here. So episode 7, if you haven't seen it, spoiler alert, there's a scene where Han Solo confronts his son.
Don't talk about it.
Kylo.
Don't talk about it. I'm not over it. I have refused to watch that movie again.
Dude, see,
because of that scene. That's not true. I've seen it multiple times, but I always walk out of the room when that scene comes up.
See, that scene, I think, is more monumental to the franchise than it actually seems, because I think right there you can fight for 2 different scenarios here. You can see Kylo actually powered up the lightsaber and killed Han Solo, thus making him a Sith Lord, essentially.
Well, it really put him on the path of Vader, right? Like, the foreshadowing and connection that you have with doing something like that when you are killing a loved one. I mean, like, because reality is that Anakin killed Padme, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that's what happened. And then that spiraled him out of control. And I think that's exactly what you see is the start of the spiraling when Kylo does that.
But see, I don't think he's actually, I think more of what we're seeing, personal opinion here. I personally think that Han actually killed himself there. I don't think that Kylo actually, put the saber through him. Because they're sitting there and they're like, Dad, I don't think I can do this. He's like, I can help you. Like, what do you need? And he's consoling him and trying to, help him in any way he can, as almost any father would to a son. And I think he knows that Kylo isn't meant for the Sith, but they need to
He needs
portray it as
something.
he's pursuing it, because as you'll see later in episode 9, you see Kylo really start to spiral, and am I good? Am I bad? Am I like, what am I?
Yeah, and you
And
could. I think there's also that in the eighth. In the eighth movie, you
yeah,
see that as well.
you
Like he's
see that a
questioning,
lot too. Yeah.
and in the eighth, Luke kind of puts him into place because it was almost like he's spiraling, and he's so determined in the eighth movie to be this Sith Lord, to be this big bad guy, that he's lashing out at every chance he gets. And I think I like what you brought up, because I've never thought about that before. Because I remember watching the scene in the seventh, and I was like sitting in the movie theater with my brother and dad, and I'm like, don't do it. Like, no, don't walk out there. Like, what are you doing? Like, you're committing suicide. And maybe you're right. Maybe that's what he did. And I guess that's part of the reason why they don't show who hit the trigger. Right? It's up to you, because on one side you could say that Kylo did it, and that he wanted to try to cement himself as one of the big bad guys. But then also it triggers this thought of, am I good? Am I bad? I just killed someone that I love, like that grew up and showed me unconditional love. But then on the other hand, you could see that he's struggling already, and maybe Han does it to not just help him portray himself as a bad guy, but also get that trigger, get that light bulb to go off inside of him where he starts to actually question. I wouldn't be surprised if you pick George Lucas's mind and that's what it is.
Yeah, because so one thing that kind of really made me think about that was, you see in episode, I think you start seeing is it episode 7 where Kylo and Rey, I just said Ren, Kylo and Rey start making that, like, the Force connection, or is that 7 or 8?
No, that's 8. 8 is when they start making the connection and they can kind of like see what each other sees. And then 9 is when they have full blown like physical conversations with each other. Because at one point he reaches through and like grabs a necklace from her.
Yeah.
So yeah, no, 7, they didn't even know who the hell each other were when it was 7.
Yeah. And that was one thing, like, you see them start to, in 7, you kind of see how they look at each other, like, at least how Kylo looks at Rey. You see him go, I feel something in you that I haven't felt in anyone else besides,
and
maybe
it was
like my mom.
It was also more of like, you're very strong with the Force, and it's almost like you had that look of, I thought we got rid of all of you except for Luke, and nobody knows where Luke is.
Yeah. And one thing that really got me thinking about that was the whole fact that at the end you're seeing Kylo pretty much go down a rabbit hole of, I'm bad, I'm good. You see him and Rey like fight together as like one, as a team. You have the light and the dark coming together. You have the yin and the yang, finally becoming whole. And then 9th episode here, you see Kylo pretty much sacrifice himself to make sure that Rey is able to finish her goal and kill her father, and kill the Sith, essentially.
Wow, wait to just
or
jump.
not not her
Way to
father,
just jump,
her grandfather.
but I was gonna say
her grandfather
not the
killed
father.
her
Man, we
parents.
just like
yeah.
If we just ruin the entire trilogy for you, let's just, in case you don't know, spoiler alert. Let's see. 7, Han Solo dies.
Yeah.
Right. So Han Solo dies in 7 by his own son, Kylo Ren, also Ben Solo, kills him, or maybe Han kills himself. We don't know. You go watch it. You tell us what you think. Okay, that's actually a really good point. So yeah, definitely go watch it. Tell us what you think in the comments. But episode 8, Luke sacrifices himself And then episode 9, Leia dies. And here's the shocker of them all. Rey is actually the granddaughter of a Sith Lord.
What?
Huh?
Oh my gosh. That's one turn in the franchise that I never thought I would ever see.
It was so creepy. Like, can we just touch on that? That was really creepy. I didn't like that at all. Like, I liked it, but I didn't.
Yeah, it was like, I don't know, the whole idea of, oh shit, like, well, first you get to see Sidious, and he's like, hey, I'm still alive. I've planned out this whole thing. I never died. I'm still
that's
here.
the one thing I would love to get more information on. Like, and I'm sure like if I go rewatch it and listen to it more, like there's more of like explaining. But he had an entire fleet ready to take out the entire universe. Yeah. Like that's what it was. And it's just like, if this is where only like you can only find it if you have that map or if you are part of the Sith somehow, like then how are people there to pilot these ships and take over the universe? And like, it's just one thing that kind of stuck with me, that I was like, a little more background would have been nice here.
Yeah. And one thing that I was just like, I don't understand really, was the whole fact of like, if you have this fleet, especially after 7 and 8, you watch like most of the ships get just destroyed. Like, yeah. Why aren't you going, hey, or Kylo, or I guess it would be going through Snoke. Yeah,
because here's another plot twist. Snoke is just Dark Sidious.
Yeah, like I didn't understand that, because I was just like,
oh my god.
So he just basically reincarnates himself, and then
I don't know, and something uglier, like
yeah. Like,
yeah, that's the thing, is I really do appreciate the 9th episode. I like it a lot. I thought there was a lot of emotions left and right throughout the entire thing, but that was one that I would love to get more information about, this entire plan. Like, how did he actually do it? Because it seemed like it was a crash course in like 5-minute time, like screen time. Like, this is what happened. I'm still alive. I did this. I did that. I controlled Snoke. I'm Snoke, which means I controlled you two talking to each other. So I control everything, and I'm going to take over everything. Ha 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 ha. Dead. Like,
yeah,
and it just seemed like a very crash course.
Like, if he is so-called so powerful, then why is he letting like his son just like, or not his son, but like
his granddaughter?
Kylo, his like apprentice, I guess, but like not his apprentice, because Snoke. Yeah, however you want to like arrange that in your mind.
I was gonna say, if you count Snoke as not Darth Sidious, then technically the whole one master, one apprentice for the Sith has been broken.
Yeah, and that's another thing. I'm just like, wait a sec.
It's like, what's going on?
Huh?
I need answers.
Like, it just doesn't make sense to me, because a lot of it is like, this is your plan you're making. Mm-hmm. You so-called have control over Kylo's mind and Rey's mind. How do you not see it coming, that they're teaming up, that they're making that connection together?
It's fair. That's fair. I mean,
is he just playing a front of like, I made this happen, but you know, he didn't actually make it happen? Or
it's a good question. Like, it's a very good question, because you bring up a fantastic point of, if he's so powerful that he can get them to talk to each other, like force that to happen, neither one of them are doing that, then you should be able to sense that within them, they are creating feelings for each other, which will make them want to defend one another. Because I mean, we see it at the end, they kiss, right? Like I don't know how you feel about that.
part of me was like, yeah, I can see it coming. Like I was kind of expecting it. But then the other part of me was like, what? But then
like,
I was like,
it's like,
I
wait,
kind of
they
saw it building
actually
up.
did it? They actually let it happen?
So
I mean, I don't know. The
it
first time I
tears
saw
me,
it,
but I'm also like,
yeah,
I understand it, and it's definitely a good way to kind of end out the series there. Like
I
you
just felt
finally
like
see
Finn
the
got the
light.
short end of the stick. That's
Yeah,
all that, because then we're just kind of like,
yeah,
so because Finn clearly has very strong force like feelings for Ray. Which, speaking of Finn, you want to dive into that real quick?
which part of Finn?
I
Because
okay. When he picked up the lightsaber to fight, I was like, let's go.
oh yeah,
Even though he had like zero force, like
yeah,
it
he's
is.
definitely not one with the Force.
But I wanted him to be a Jedi. I
Yeah,
wanted them to be like, watch this. X stormtrooper throws tree using the force, and
that's
like,
see, that's what I was expecting the first time watching through 7. I was like, is
it's gonna
this
happen.
stormtrooper have the Force? What the? But then like he picks it up and just gets his ass handed to him.
Well, he picks it up, and I think part of it was he was fighting with rage.
Yeah.
I mean,
Well,
like
not
I think
necessarily. I don't even know if it was fighting with rage. I think he was just like, I don't know how to fight with this. Give me a blaster. Like, come on.
it doesn't matter. You're still gonna miss. Pew, pew, pew.
Can we just
That's
talk?
what.
One thing I've noticed is like in 7, 8, 9, like there are points
How
where,
can they actually hit their targets now? Like,
well,
what's going on?
not even that. So one thing I noticed, if you are on the side of good in the movie, you can take as many blaster hits as you damn well please. Um,
But if you're on the
but
bad side
but
and
if
you
you're
have
on the bad
armor,
side, you get hit once, bye bye.
even though there's
Huh?
armor. I also love how there's so much more explosions for bad guys than good guys. Like, just how many running out of the ship and the.
I'm just like,
Well, they got to kill them off in mass because there's the number wise, right? Like, they got to make it fair.
yeah, but I'm also like, come on now,
Make it
like,
realistic. It's like, where did you get all these
yeah,
detonators? Hmm?
it's
What kill
like,
streak are you on?
you killed how many? Oh, you
It's
got a
like,
33 kill streak?
yeah, airstrike.
Let's go. Drop into Moab. Let's get it. I'm
And
just
then
like,
I come across the screen, stay inside, get
I'm just
inside.
like, what? Like
Oh,
some
no, it's a
there.
good point. Speaking of that, though, speaking of the stormtroopers and how they're known to miss their shots, how is it at the beginning of the 7th movie they perfectly execute a massacre?
Like,
Telling me none of them missed? Come on, you made the whole franchise. They're the pinpoint of they all suck at their job and they can't hit anything, and yet you line these people up in the 7th movie, and for once, they hit every single person.
it's
Like,
like,
what?
how? Because one thing that I noticed, so when you see Finn do his whole like, I like, he's just kind of there like,
Yeah. And then he
like
takes
that.
off his helmet and
Yeah, and
there's
he's like
blood.
blood, and he's like, what am I doing? Which I think like that really symbolized the whole turn, and no one wants to be a part of the order, or not necessarily no one, but like people who are
It's
thinking for themselves don't want to be a part of
yes.
that order, where you see a
Yes.
lot of the silver stormtrooper,
Oh,
the
yes,
commander,
yes.
I can't think of
Yeah.
the
I
name,
I know who you're talking about.
but you always hear her go, yeah, he came in and we were gonna do like a basically recondition him.
You're
And I'm
gonna
like,
brain wipe him.
yeah, basically wipe his brain and recondition him to be a stormtrooper. Listen to your orders, do as you're told.
Yeah, and I think that brings up a good question of did it is one of the big flaws with the Empire, with the Order, whatever you call them, because they change name every now and then. When they went away and basically screwed over the people that made the clone troopers, when they got rid of those people, do you think that was the beginning of the end? Because now, even though they're still taking people when they're young and conditioning them and forcing them to live up this way, like if they're not a clone, then they're more likely to be able to break through that at some point in their life. So do you think that was the beginning of the end and signal that at some point they will fail?
I never thought about that.
Am I too big brain for you?
Not really. So I think
take that away from me.
A little bit, because I mean, I didn't think about that before. One thing that kind of made me think of is, are we getting too far out of the cloning to where the clones that are being used for the New Order are, well, they're not actually clones anymore, because
no, they're actual people that you take when they're kids.
Yeah. And then you're just conditioning them into, you know, what they want them to be. Is that I don't know, what would you call it?
I don't know. I don't know
like
where you're going with this.
Like ending. Okay, so with the stormtroopers, they're all clones. That you don't see, oh, I'm a bad stormtrooper, because they're all genetically set up the same way.
Yeah, they're also chipped in order to make them think a certain way.
Yeah. So do you think that with that and moving into the New Order and them just being like, hey, we're not going to clone people, we're going to remove that part, we're just going to brainwash with the nurture that the clones were given, it worked because they all had the same genetics, you know?
Yeah.
But then when you get into the New Order, they're just taking kids. Each kid is going to have a different genetic makeup compared to like the next stormtrooper. So their way of taking in nurture might be different based on their gene type. I don't know. I might just be going off a deep end there.
Well, I think that you're getting nature and nurture mixed up a little bit. Because nurture is how you brought up. So regardless, nurture
would be how they would be trained, right?
Yeah. So nurture is all the same, but nature, because genetics is involved, nature is different, because with the clone troopers and early generation stormtroopers, their nature and nurture is the exact same.
Yeah.
But now with you just taking from people, you're taking young kids, they have different nature, same nurture. And although you are, to your standards, effectively brainwashing them, you still have those nature effects and impacts that don't go away.
Yeah.
So I think that's where like you end up having the potential, because obviously in the movies we don't see that one in every 10 stormtroopers will defect. Like we don't see that, right?
Yeah.
But it is possible. It's definitely more possible with this, with this tactic of building your army versus the, in reality, more effective one.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Now I'm trying to correlate this to actual like life, and I'm like, oh shit! Like,
why would you do that?
It's bad. It's bad. We're not even going to get into it because I feel like we could talk about that, or I could at least talk about that for like hours. Because I feel like, with the New Order, you kind of see like, hey, everyone's different, but we're trying to bring everyone up as the same. Is that just corporate capitalist America, like trying to put you into a factory and working 40 hours a week? Whereas the rebellion is people who are living more freely and not working those 40 hours a week and doing more of what they want to do on their own time and living their life.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, this is going down a rabbit hole slightly.
Yeah.
This is getting more like, instead of talking about the movies, we're now talking about the franchise and the world within the franchise.
I feel like we're gonna have to put a little break point there, and then just like go back to where we started, because that rabbit hole is looking pretty deep right now.
Oh,
like I feel like I'm Ray right now. It was so dark. It showed me what I needed. Like just finding out about the dark side, and I feel like that's kind of like where I'm at as far as like.
But yeah, I mean, I think it's interesting. One thing though that I liked about the ninth is it made us think that Rey was going to be the next Anakin, because Anakin was shown the dark side and then he went with it, and Rey was shown the dark side. And the reality is that everybody has a dark side. It's just it's I forget which movie or TV show it was, but it was a quote that will stay with me forever, and it's, in every person there is a good wolf and a bad wolf, and we all have them. We all have a good side and a bad side, and whichever one we portray is just based on which wolf we feed. And so I think it connects into that ideology of, yeah, there is a dark side to Rey, just like there's a dark side to Luke. I mean, we saw that when Luke tried to kill Kylo Ren during training, because he saw where he was going. He was like, I can't let another Anakin happen. And so then we saw his dark side of it. So everyone has it, but I like that they showcase that again, of like, even if you're good, you still have a dark side. It's just how you come out determines which side you feed the most.
Yeah, and you kind of see that with Luke's training of Rey. He's like, as long as, if your light side is here, your dark side is here. They're always equal. They're never like, oh, this is higher, you know.
Yeah.
If you have that dark side, it's just that's what you're feeding into. That's where you're putting your mind, your attention, your ambitions, and everything that goes on in your mind, and all the characteristics and everything that you do. So if you're feeding the dark side, you're gonna, you know, end up eventually, if you keep going down that path, you're gonna, you know, eventually become a Sith. End goal. Where if you keep feeding your light side and, you know, having positive outlooks and all that stuff, you are more likely to have a more Jedi master, temple guard, more
Jedi council.
Yeah, you're gonna be more like, I don't know, because they're both strong with the Force. They're just different strong with the Force, if that makes sense.
Yes, it does.
Like the Sith, oh yeah, I have all this power and I have all this anger and all this rage that allows me to feed into like my fighting style to, I can shoot electricity at people, or I can
just still pretty
strangle
badass.
people. And yeah, dude, that's sweet. But then like if you have the light side, you're more you can more like pursue people, like not necessarily pursue, but convince people, like how persuade. There we go. That's the word I was like. I was like, shit.
It's like pursue. I mean, we're all gonna pursue somebody.
Yeah. But you're more able to like persuade people more. It's more of a people thing, essentially, in my mind, than where the Sith is more me, where the Jedi Council is us.
It's we versus I
thing. Yeah,
it's we versus I, and I think that's throughout the entire series, the whole good and bad, the whole we versus I, like it's coming back to the whole human. It's connecting to human problems that we see today in society.
Yeah,
I mean, that's the reality of it.
Yeah, and I think that the movies, we're not going down the hole, but it portrays a very parallel universe to kind of what's going on currently. It
Yeah, no,
just
I think
gives a
they do
more
a fantastic
dramatic
job.
way of showing it to the people.
Oh, absolutely.
And that's
Absolutely.
it does such a good job at it too. Like if you're not noticing it, more than likely, you haven't noticed it in actual life, I think. And once you start picking it up in actual life, then I think in the movie you start picking up those little
If you haven't
seances
noticed
here and
it, you're
there.
living under a rock. So wake up.
Wake up and just pay attention. That's
just
literally
pay
what it is. Just
attention.
pay attention.
But pay attention. I wish I could do that with my kids.
Dude, oh my god.
You're
Maybe
not
not
listening.
electricity, but like maybe like a little tase here,
Wake up. It's not nap time.
like
No, I think you're absolutely right. To pivot back into 7, 8, and 9, though, do you think 7, 8, and 9 would have been as good or as successful without Luke, Han, Chewie, and Leia making appearances?
no. I think that with bringing the star characters from 4, 5, 6, you bring in a lot of nostalgia and like, ooh, what are they doing now? Like, I feel like every movie, they end on the like, oh my god, like they fall in love or the good beats the bad, but right after that, what happens? What goes on?
Yeah.
And you really see that with 7, 8, 9, 4, 5, 6. Oh, we defeated evil. Where the only good things going on right now. And then you get to the point where it's like, okay, like where's this go from here? And then in 7, 8, 9, you really get to see like, okay, the rebellion won. Here comes the new order, a new evil. Putting its foot
the
down in the
first
world.
order.
And you're like,
okay. Yeah, I would piggyback off of you and say it's a bringing back the original characters connected generation of Star Wars fans.
Yes.
Like
I really agree
without
with
it,
that.
I think it would have been seen as another, like it would have been
another 1, 2, 3
sequels. Yeah, it wouldn't have been like as intertwined because people still refer to 1, 2, and 3 as, oh, those are the prequels. Like that's not my Star Wars. But then your Star Wars characters are now intertwined into the sequels, and they're more than just the sequels.
Yeah.
And speaking of the iconic characters, how did you ever think that Rey was related to Luke?
Yes.
How bad did you want her to be related?
So I'd say probably through 7 and 8, and then like halfway through 9, I kind of started to pick up on, I don't think Rey is related to Luke at all. 7, I was really hopeful about it because I was like, ooh, like what are we gonna see here?
Yes.
Like this is Rey's the spawn of Luke. She was abandoned because similar to like I was thinking they were gonna go like a Luke and Leia situation where they were separated at birth, and then I was like, what's his name? Stormtrooper.
Obi-Wan.
Stormtrooper.
Mr. Finn.
There we go. FN, whatever his number is. Like 2178 or something like that.
Oh God, now I gotta look it up while you talk.
But I was thinking like they were somehow like separated at birth or somehow connected in some way. And that's why they ended up meeting, kind of similar to how Luke and Leia kind of met on kind of a whim, Luke was just like, oh, I got to go save this princess.
You were close.
What is it?
It's 2187.
Damn it.
He's listed because I typed in FN21 and the next thing was 87. So I Googled that and it came up as Finn. And it says FN2187 was trained since birth to serve the First Order as a stormtrooper, but a skirmish on Jakku awakened his conscience and drove him down a different path. And it says height 5'8".
Fort King, let's get it, bud. Let's get it, bud.
Oh my god! I can't believe they actually have a height for a stormtrooper.
Wait. How tall is Kylo?
Let me look it up. Kylo Ren height
is Ren, why do I keep calling Rey Ren?
It says Kylo Ren is portrayed by Adam Driver, who is 6'3". So Kylo Ren is 6'3".
Just proves if you're over 6 foot, people like you.
What is it? John. So I wonder if the character or the actor. Yeah, John Boyega is 5'8". Dang. He's short.
But he doesn't look that short.
Well, they play with that. You know that.
Yeah. We need you to stand just like this so you look like you're 6'5".
Yeah, Rey is the actress who plays Rey is 5'7", Daisy Ridley.
Only 5'7"?
Yeah.
Maybe my memory's just like bad, but when she's standing next to Kylo, it's like eye to eye almost. Like maybe an inch or two shorter.
Well, again, so you're probably standing on a box. Yeah. It's probably like the Tom Cruise effect where don't see the legs, and so he looks taller.
I never realized that. So
he's
probably like 2 or 3 years ago, I realized that he's like actually only like 5'6" or whatever he is.
Yeah,
like what? Every movie I've ever seen him in, he's always seems like he's like
the tallest guy. Yeah, he's 5'7". He's 5'7". He will actually like stand on boxes in order to be taller than his like castmates in movies. He actually does that.
Bruh.
Yeah.
Welcome to Cinematography 101.
Don't show the legs, they don't know the height.
Exactly.
Anyway, let's get back.
So one thing that I've kind of been thinking about as we've gone into it, with Finn and Rey and crap, I'm so bad with the new characters' names. Who's the pilot?
Poe.
Okay, yeah, everyone's got
Oscar
3 letters
Isaac
for their name. Yeah.
But they got like, real lazy. Finn, Rey. They got so lazy. They're like, we need names. We need easy names.
Oh my God. Okay, there we go. Main character right there. I need another 3-letter name. Rey. There we go. One more. Where can we go? Finn. Sure. Okay. But I noticed how they built like their friendship that they portray seems very similar to a Luke, Han, and Leia setup.
Yes.
Because you see a lot of like Luke and Han, best friends. Rey, God, Finn and Poe, best friends. And then you see Rey join in, and then they all 3 become like almost intertwined as like best friends there. I mean, granted, you don't get the whole, oh, I love my brother, but like I don't love my brother and I love his friend. But like
we don't get that love triangle.
Yeah, you don't get that love triangle. I think they almost hint at a kind of a love triangle going on in like 7 and 8, but it's very minimal with like Poe and Rey. But then with like Finn and Rey, you see like the love connection kind of there.
Yes, you see the start of it, but you can tell that one side is stronger than the other.
Yeah, Finn
which
is.
We've all been there.
It happens though. It happens. Everyone's simped. Everyone's done it.
I'm never gonna look at Finn the same way.
Right?
He's gonna come on screen. You simp.
But
she
like,
doesn't love you.
If you think about it, like the whole time,
she's gonna pick a Sith Lord over you.
Right? Okay,
you should have stayed bad, Finn.
On that note, do you think Kylo at the end of 9, do you think he is still considered a Sith Lord? Because he's fighting with a blue lightsaber. Do you think that is reference to I've changed my ways and I no longer want to be a Sith Lord?
It's just it's the same as Anakin at the end. You know, like it's the same as when Darth Vader saved Luke and had the funeral of a Jedi, and we see, they went back and made it where his ghost is Anakin, not Darth Vader. I mean, it's the same symbolic scene of that. Yeah, he's no longer a Sith. There's no question.
Yeah. I think at that point you see his body's basically like extinguished as a Sith, and you see him kind of rebirthed as a Jedi Knight. I'd say a good guy.
Yeah.
Whatever.
I'd put him more in the gray area with Ahsoka Tano, but like
yeah, I can definitely agree with that. Because he's showing the signs of like I'm good and everything like that. But he never like fully goes on the offensive of I want to join the rebellion. And
yeah,
I think if he would have survived after defeating the Sith, maybe we see him and Rey form a power Jedi couple and just Jedi everywhere.
Yeah, I mean, I guess that's one of the biggest what ifs that we're always gonna ask, which I don't know. The more and more I think about it, the more and more I'm okay with it. But like in the moment when I first saw it, I was like, no, I wanted Finn. Like, but now that I like see it more, I'm like, yeah, it makes a better movie.
Yeah, for
better,
sure.
Better story.
Because
the way that it ended.
If Rey ended up with Finn, I don't think you would see Kylo.
Her growth wouldn't have been the same, and I don't think. I think what you're about to hit on is that Kylo wouldn't have made the evolution that he made.
Yeah, I think with the connection that they were making and how Rey was like sitting down with him, actually listening to what he had to say, and just talking with him, and creating dialogue of, I don't think you're a bad guy. I don't see Kylo Ren. I see Ben Solo. Which like, oh,
did you cry?
A little bit. I want to talk about it.
I want to talk about it. Every movie gave us a reason to cry.
Yeah. First, Qui-Gon, whoop, peace out. And I'm just like,
peace out, Girl Scout.
But then like you get into like 2, no one really dies in there that you're like, oh my god, I'm gonna cry.
I was talking about 7, 8, 9, then you went all the way back to 1.
Yeah, 1, 2, 3 you see Padme die and you see the death of Anakin. That kind of hurts a lot, so it kind of makes up for 2. 4, 5, 6, you get into, oh no, Obi-Wan's dead. 5, I don't think any like major people really die on the good side.
No. 6 is when you have
Darth Vader.
Yeah.
But you see the death of Darth Vader, and I think you kind of see the rebirth of Anakin a little bit for a split second, and then death.
You're back, Dad.
Yeah, exactly. Dad, you say, oh, Dad, you're dead.
It was a nice 30-second rebirth.
Yeah, right. And then 7, you see the real OG.
You see Han, and then you see Luke, and then you see Leia and Kylo Ren. Like,
but is Luke dead? Is
well,
Luke dead?
Yeah, like physically he is, but
Is
it's
he
the
though?
whole spiritually. Like, because the Jedi, they have their ghosts, they have their spirits that they can still guide you. So like, yeah, he's not gone, but like physically he is, yeah, he's dead.
Okay, so part of me sitting here going, Luke's not dead because you
Okay.
don't actually see, like, you see his
He
like cloak.
disappeared.
Yeah.
He's not
But
physically
but
there.
like he did this, he did a similar, he teleported himself to whatever, forget the name of the
The salt
planet they're
planet.
on. Yeah, the salt planet.
Yeah.
You know, he puts himself on there and it's just him as like his spiritual embodiment,
Yeah.
if that's what you would call it. And then, you know, he takes on a fucking bajillion shots from
He's like, ha ha
AT-ATs.
ha, I'm still here.
More. And then he's just like, I'm still here. And he's like, I gotta finish this myself. And then, you know, Kylo's garbage and, you know, doesn't really lay a hit on him. And
But
Luke's just like,
regardless, physically, Luke is gone.
yeah,
So you
okay.
see the death of
Okay,
Luke.
yeah.
Okay.
All right. I
Like,
guess when Obi-Wan died, his like body disappeared and
yeah,
his cloak wig.
yeah.
Similar death. Okay.
There you go. Episode what? Episode 4. Obi-Wan's dead.
Yeah.
Boom. There's another death for you. The nice thing is Chewie. They didn't have the audacity to kill Chewie off. If they would have killed
Okay.
Chewie off, I think I would have lost it.
If they killed Chewie, I would
have
left.
boycotted
I'd
everything.
have left. I
And like,
would have
I'm
left.
good. I'm good. Thanks. Bye.
He's like, no, I'm good. No.
Episode 10's coming out. I'll pass. Thank you.
Thanks. Have a good one. And you're like, what?
No, but bringing up the different episodes, I wanted to hit on this, and then we can wrap it up after this, or we can do a couple more things. I know you wanted to throw some random questions at me, so we can do that after this. But rank the movie, just like we've done with every trilogy. Rank the movies from best to worst for this trilogy.
I think honestly, this one's kind of the hardest one to rank because there's aspects to each movie where I'm like, I really like this, but then there's other parts where I'm like, dude, this is kind of ass. Like, I wish they would have done something different. If I really had to rank them from best to worst, I would say 9. I'm gonna keep to my guns. The last one in each trilogy, the best. I like it just because, you know, you get a really, I think they closed out the series so well.
I would agree.
And 9.
I would agree.
I think if they tried to do it any other way,
it wouldn't have worked.
It wouldn't have worked well. The way they ended this one was so spot on. Granted, there's a lot of like, oh, this is kind of just like 6, just rewritten with new characters. You have a lot of people telling you that, but I really liked how they did it. Because bare bones, it's very similar, but I mean, you can say that about every movie. Harry Potter's Star Wars. Okay, get at us. We talked about it last episode. Check it out if you haven't checked it out.
You don't need to go down.
We're not going down there again. But like
the iconic scene, like, I think that's why they did that with that. You're touching on that, and obviously some people would be like, oh, it's the same. I think they did that on purpose because it was closing out and it was connecting back to the first trilogy, the OG trilogy, you know, what people thought was the end of Star Wars at that time, right? And so it's paying tribute to that, but also she has a freaking yellow lightsaber. How iconic is that ending?
Yeah.
You know? Like, you're not going to beat that. And I think it was just so, I personally loved the fact that it ended like that.
Yeah.
I love that there was that connection, that similarity.
Yeah. When I watched that go down and everything, I was so The one thing that I think would have made it better is you do see it's a dual wield lightsaber, and it's gold. Pop, pop, just like show both, please. If you would have done that, I would have been like, okay,
you would have lost it.
Best finale I've ever seen, right there.
I think now I have to, when I go to Disney later in this year, I'm gonna have to get a dual lightsaber that's yellow, just for that reason alone.
You know you will.
I'll have to look at the price first because they're pretty expensive now.
Yeah. Inflation, baby. Inflation.
It's called Disney, baby.
Welcome to Disney. But like, if they would have done that, I think that would have been like one of the only things they could have done to make that movie better. Which, you know, going back to how am I ranking the rest of them?
Yeah.
I think 8's pretty good, but
Ooh.
I like 7 with its fight scenes. But 8 has really good like galactic battles that I'm really into because you don't really see it in a lot of other movies. Fair. So that's the one part that I'm like, I really enjoy that, and I think that's super cool. So that's where I get really torn between 7 and 8, because I think honestly I could say one thing about 7 and be like 7 is number 2, but then someone would bring something about 8 and I'd be like, 8's number 2.
I got you.
But I think overall number 9
is the best
of the 3.
Okay.
What's your take on
that? No, I think you're absolutely right. With all 3 of these movies have fantastic things within each, and that's why this is by far the hardest trilogy to rank within itself. With that being said, the best one for me is I really like 7. Okay. Because I thought it, like, the fast pace was really good, but I thought it was just like, when you watched it, you're like, oh my God, like this is the next phase of Star Wars. Like they picked up right where they left off. Like, yeah, there's a gap in it that tells us about it, but like, it's just so good. And I think part of it was also because it brought in all of the original characters the way it did. You know, like shock after shock after shock. And I was like, what? And so I love 7. Okay. But I definitely agree with 9 has so many good points to it. So many good plot. And that's why I would say it's a second, and it's a close second. But I liked parts of 8. But as a whole, it pissed me off because I felt like I was sitting there. I was like, oh, this is really cool. Like the training and like the fight scenes were really cool. But then a vast majority of it was, okay, they're still behind us. We got to get to this planet. Oh my God, they're still there. Like, I was like, this is so maddening. Like, just give me something else.
Yeah. And that's the one part where like I think that's definitely a downfall of 8, but then I would say like, oh, and 7 when they're trying to hunt down the code breaker. No, that is not.
No, that's the last one.
It's 7. I was just thinking of the scene.
Like when they're at the temple thing?
No. I'd say for me 7 like it's just a lot of, hey, here's the characters. You know,
that's fair.
Like it's very needed because you do need to know like who everyone is in order to understand 8 and 9. But that stuff just, in my mind, it gets a little boring. There's not as much fighting necessarily, but like the fight scenes that are in it.
Yeah, it's much more laying the base for everything else to grow on top of it. But that's the thing, like with 8 is it was so like how it started, all the training, you know, the couple bit of like bombing scenes and fight scenes, and then the ending, iconic. awesome, loved it. It was just the fact that it just kept panning back to them running away, like, oh my gosh, hit the gas, we don't have any more gas, like we just have to float, but like they can't hit us with their cannon. Like it was just so annoying that it was this amazing scene, all this intensity, and then back to that to like check in with them. And I was like, what are we doing?
Like
that was the only thing that I had with it.
Yeah, and that part, I kind of liked it for a little bit, but I definitely think if they would have done that any longer than they did, I would have been like, all right, I can't do this anymore.
I just personally think they did it a little bit too long, a little bit too many times.
Yeah.
Like I think it was needed because you saw that transfer of, okay, like this is who's taking it over because this is going to happen, all this stuff. And obviously then that doesn't happen because Luke saves them and everything. But like you could see what they were thinking. You could see how sacrifices were going to go. And it was needed. But at the same time, I was just like, I think you're doing it a little too much. But that's just my personal, that's my flavor. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I feel you. Now.
Oh, Lord.
Into the question I've been waiting
into the unknown.
Out of all 9 episodes,
which one's the best?
Yeah, which one's the best?
That, sir, will be answered next week. So stay tuned.
Peace out, guys.
Peace out, Girl Scout.